The last year has been stressful for so many of us. So the impact of COVID-19 continues to be felt right around the world. But what if you can use that mental stress as a tool to flourish? So walk towards your emotions and use them. And we've just seen a bit of this with Mike King in the last half an hour. This is where the book Mental Fitness comes in, helping provide ways to cope in times of a crisis. I think it's a great book. Joining us now is author Paul Wood. Always lovely to have you on the program, mate. Nice to see you.
Great to see you.
You coped with COVID? The kids all good?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coping with the kids in general was a bit more of a struggle than coping with COVID for me.
Yeah.
That's all right. I've got the tools.
In your book, Mental Fitness, I think it's a great book. I've had a look at this. And you talk about emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, unfortunately, we have some really mistaken expectations around our emotions that just really reduce our well-being and make it harder to be who we want to be in life. For example, in modern society, we have these false ideas that we're supposed to be happy all the time and we're not supposed to experience stress. So what the research shows is that when we do experience stress and unpleasant emotions, we often think we're a failure. We think there's something wrong and we just stress about stressing. We worry about worrying instead of recognizing that the unpleasant emotions we experience are signals our body's sending us to try and help us be effective in challenging circumstances. Let me give you an example. You mentioned that you were feeling nervous before about potential defamation. That was your body sending you a signal to be very careful at this point. Whereas if you had just thought, well, I'm supposed to feel happy here, why aren't I feeling that way? Then you wouldn't have been able to recognise and benefit from the signal you were receiving. I mean, let me give you another classic example I think a lot of us relate to. So on occasion, I disappoint people who are close to me. I disappoint my wife. I'm not as good a husband as I would like to be. And when I feel that, I feel this unpleasant emotion. And if I have this expectation that I'm supposed to be happy all the time, then what I'll tend to do is I'll tend to go, I'm a failure, there's something wrong here, I'm not good enough as a husband, and I will just, flagellate myself, just beat up on myself. Whereas if I actually go, okay, this is a signal that my body is sending me, and how can I interpret this signal? I can interpret it as saying this relationship is important to me, and what I'm feeling right now is motivation to do better and be better
turn it
going
on its
forward.
head. So with Mike King this morning, when Mike got upset, that was because he cared.
100%, because he's doing something that matters,
It's not
right?
because he's failing.
No, absolutely not. And I think this is a key idea, is this idea that when we experience stress, when we feel impacted emotionally, it's a sign we're doing something meaningful, we're doing something that matters. And that is the path to being happier with your life. And I want us to think about this distinction. We get this false idea you're supposed to be happy. You're not supposed to be happy all the time. In fact, neurologically, you can't be happy all the time. But you can be.
Yes, everything's happy and fantastic.
Right. But you can be happier with your life, even when it's hard, even when there's challenge. And that's the real path to having a more meaningful, satisfying life.
So should we run headlong into situations that make us miserable?
Oh, look, I think there can be real benefit in that. Part of this book was written based on my work with the Defence Force, and particularly the incredibly generous psych team there, and also the leadership development team.
Was it the SAS?
I did manage to have some opportunity to observe them doing some of their training and work with the psychs as part of that, and to get some insights into the skills they use to cope. And this is a key idea. Even if you are so mentally tough that you can pass SAS selection, it doesn't mean you don't feel the struggle. It just means you're more effective at moving through the discomfort. That's what it's about. But we have this false idea that some people are resilient, some people are mentally tough, some people aren't. Whereas actually, it's like our physical fitness. Even if you're really physically fit, you still feel the physiological challenge. You can just work your way through the misery for longer before you get fatigued and recover quicker.
They are tough.
Is it a skill to be developed through practice?
100%. But here's the key idea. You're asking about running headlong into the stress. Stress is how we get more resilient and mentally tough. It's a sign we're doing something meaningful. But like our physicality, like our physical well-being, that's only going to be useful if we're recovering appropriately. But the problem is if we think we're not supposed to feel this stuff, if we think it's not beneficial to us, then instead of recovering appropriately, so we actually grow from the stress and pressure, then what we often do is we sort of mask the symptoms of it.
You see, I worry about people that have no feelings towards things at all. So if people don't talk, I worry. If people are too quiet, I worry. If there's a big sort of a fight going on, or a family thing going on, feud or whatever going on, and people are too quiet in the corner, it worries me. Where are their feelings? Why doesn't it matter to them? Why aren't they engaged?
Well, this is what I'd say, though, Duncan, is that this is a really interesting idea of this concept of mental fitness, which is similar to physicality as well. The coping strategies that you use in some situations don't necessarily translate into other circumstances. Let me give you an example. When I was in prison and I was dealing with literal physical threats to my well-being, to my survival, shutting down emotionally was a really effective strategy to be able to just deal with what I needed to deal with at that point. But if I'm in an interpersonal relationship and we start to have a disagreement or upset each other, and I use that same strategy of shutting down that really helped me in prison by just being really still and really quiet and focused, now I come across as callous, disconnected. Whereas in these circumstances, what's going to help me is engaging with my wife, engaging with my partner. But it's different tactics.
Yes.
Exactly. I spent a lot of last year running. I got really fit for running a marathon. Wouldn't help me if you put me in the swimming pool. And that's part of what this book's about. It's different strategies, different tools for different areas.
Just very quickly before we go, just on books, because books actually changed your life, didn't they, in prison? And I understand you actually slept next to a dictionary and your dad would help you out getting you books.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, books just broaden your whole perspective, right? They open up your eyes to all of these different worlds. It's through reading books that you actually get to get all of the insights and information that other people have managed to learn and put together in their lives.
I was going to ask you, but I'm not going to do this now because we've run out of time. But
You're going.
Tools for marriage breakups. But anyway, we'll worry about that another day. That could be 2 sessions.
Oh, that's
I feel.
a whole hour session, I think.
Keep smiling all the way through it and be happy. Author Paul Wood, appreciate your time as always
Pleasure.
on the program. Appreciate what you do for your fellow people in your country.